taxation for the calendar year 2020 be set at the .2355 on each $100 of assessed valuation of property within the school district, and that certification of the same be forwarded to the county officials at the appropriate time. This rate reflects no change in taxation rate.
Second.
All right, this is a roll call vote.
Trustee Hager?
Yes.
Trustee Harrison?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Featherston?
Yes.
And Trustee Richardson?
Yes. I guess we need a motion to adjourn from the special meeting.
So moved. Second that.
Yeah, all in favor?
Yep.
Adjourn. All right. Now we will call the regular session meeting to order. Trustee Hager, will you lead us in the invocation of the
Sure.
pledge, please?
Heavenly Father, come to you in prayer today, Lord. We thank you for the day that you've given us. We thank you for the opportunity to be here today to do the business of this institution, Lord. And as this academic year begins, Lord, we ask you to lift up in prayer those on this campus, Lord, and we ask you to be with us today that we'll make good decisions for this college. Lead us, guide us in all that we do. All these things, Lord, we ask in your precious name. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, consideration and approval of the agenda. There's a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consideration and approval of minutes from the June board meeting.
Move to approve as presented.
And second?
I'll second.
Alright, all in favor?
You check it out.
Sorry, aye.
Oh, yeah. So we're on the sidebar.
Alright, so that passed. Alright, consideration of the college financial report.
You can turn to your board books on page 8. This is the end of our fiscal year, ended June 30th. Comparing it to the fiscal year that we had in 2019. You can see, notably, you can see our student aid category bumped up quite a lot compared to what you've seen in previous months. And that is because in June, we received $1.1 million of CARES funding that was then distributed to our students. So you'll see that included in student aid as revenue, and you see the same amount included in scholarships on page 9, where we distributed that to students. So none of those funds were retained. That's just an in and out, so it's a net zero to the bottom line. But that's why those categories look so far out as compared to the previous fiscal year. Other categories, very similar to what we've talked about in other months, for state appropriations, less than previous year, reflecting the withholdings that we had there at the end of the fiscal year. On page 9, you can see we have quite a lot of savings on operating expenses. Some of those are COVID-related events and so forth that we did not hold, did result in some savings in our operating expenses. And then on page 10, if you look at revenue minus expenses, we actually look quite a bit ahead of last fiscal year, and that's largely because of the CRISP building. We had a special appropriation from the state to fund that building. So you see that there's $1,985,000 that are included in revenue. That's those reimbursements that we receive from the state. They're not included in expenses because as a building, it's actually not an expense. It's actually going to be on your balance sheet as an asset that will depreciate every year. So you'll actually see it on page 11 in your capital assets on the left. So that's looks like a windfall, but it's really not. It's just sort of an accounting thing. So really that money is just a straight reimbursement for bills that we paid. It's just that it's a long-term investment in our assets. And then I think we'll turn to on page 13, looking at that same time frame for the year ended on June 30th. This is sort of budget to actual, so this is the closest look that we have to a cash basis. It's not true cash basis, but it's what I call quasi-cash basis. So it gives you some idea how we ended the year in comparison to our budget. Most of those are very similar to what you have seen month to month throughout the year. On revenues, we did exceed in one, well, a little bit in a couple of categories. The non-operating revenue, that's largely property taxes, that you see that we got a little bit extra there at the year end. And then in the bottom half of the page, they're looking at expenses. You can see that we were quite a bit below our budgeted expenses in a number of categories. And again, that's reflective of some of the changes in our operations in the spring. We also had a number of vacant positions and other things that contributed to that. So then on page 14, if we look at our budget to actual for the fiscal year, you can see that we're about $1.1 million to good. On page 15, you can see our capital budget for the year ended June 30. Most of those are right on target, which is slightly over on that CRISP Technology Center, and that's simply because we budgeted it based on that appropriation. And you may remember a couple of years ago when we were initially given that appropriation, there was also withheld $250,000 out of the initial appropriation. And at that time, we had said that we would spend that extra $250,000 out of reserve. So that's what that $78,000 represents as a portion of that. Then on page 16, we get our first look at the new fiscal year for the month ended in July 31st. So as you can see, of course, there's not any big stories to tell on that first month, but you will notice in tuition and fees, we're just past that 50% mark, so that's a really good indicator for our fall enrollment. Of course, we'll see that continue to change on into August when you see that number next month. The other numbers on page 17 and 18 just reflect the same things we just looked on the graph. No big changes to the capital budget there. That's pretty much the same things that you saw when we presented the initial capital budget to the board in June. Following that, then you see our cash and banks. You actually have two pie graphs. There's one on page 21 and another on page 24. One just shows you the position that we were at the beginning of July, and the other is at the beginning of August. So you can see that between July and August, of course, our cash balances come down a little bit. A lot of that's, of course, beginning startup expenses for the fall term and so forth. That's a pretty typical cash pattern, spending pattern. Following that, then on page 25, you've got the details of your CDs. We did not have any changes to that this month, so there's no CD bids to report. And then there is a bid report in here because there was no CD report. We did not have any bids open at the end of the month. Any questions?
On page 21, would you tell us one more time what strategic reserves, what those
Sure.
entail?
So the blue section of the pie is simply 25% of your operating budget, which is what we traditionally said we would hold as our reserve budget. So the red piece of the pie is simply the difference between what we have in the cash balance of reserves and that 25% number.
Thank you.
In Charlotte, that CARES Act money, that went out in direct payments to students, right?
It did,
Not
yes.
a credit or anything in their account.
Yes, the CARES Act specifically barred us from withholding any of that funds to pay for, even if a student owed a bill. Those funds went directly to students in full.
Very good, Charlie. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright. President's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. we'll begin with a construction update. The Chris Technology Center is fundamentally finished. We'll be ready for walkthrough tours today. Anybody that wants to go through, we'll plan an event when we're 100% finished, and maybe the world has calmed down a little bit. One of the best projects as far as coming in on time, on budget, with the least amount of issues ever that the institution has done. We have added a lot of high quality instructional space. If you'll see in that top picture, the gray building with the yellow barriers at the top of it, that is part of the fire training field, and that is the burn building. So that building is designed to actually set fires inside the building and train students in real world application to be a firefighter. So we have gained a lot of really exceptional space that we can put forward to career programs, whether it is robotics, automation, fire training, police training, networking will be in that building. CDL will use that facility. So we've made a huge improvement to campus, and we've brought a part of our operations into a position on campus where they're now visible, and you can tell that they're part of us. So by being able to fill in the big creek between this building and the Chris Technology Center, the biggest comment that we got when the trees were taken down and the ditch was filled in was, I didn't realize that was that close to us. And it was, but you had to go around the world to get to it. So now it's fully connected to the rest of the campus, will fundamentally change the way people view that. It was always viewed as that over there. And it was easy to forget, both from a student standpoint and sometimes from a faculty standpoint if you weren't involved in those programs. And now it's obvious we do these things. And these are very important programs for our community. Everybody doesn't want to get a 4-year degree or more and go into an academic type field. There's a lot of people that want to go into a trade. And this facility allows us to serve that need to a much higher degree, a better degree than we have before. We also have done some roadway repair. We've taken advantage over the reduced traffic in the summer. We had some problems right at the end of Raider Way. The asphalt had given way and was really rough to go out. Then the upper right-hand picture is the approach to the garbage dumpster there by housing. What was happening there was the garbage truck was turning in and tearing up the pavement. So we went in and extended the concrete to make sure that that doesn't get torn up anymore. And at the bottom of the Liable Family Sports Complex, there was a choke point where when people left the game or came out from there, the walkway was no longer clear and the exit narrowed. So you always had a gnarl of traffic and pedestrians walking there. So by smoothing that out, fixing it, and designating the walkway all the way across to the parking on the other side, we have greatly improved the function there. So moving on to something a little more fun than construction, I've asked Miss Jonelle Seifert to join us today, and if she would come to the podium. She has returned to Three Rivers to teach our drama camp. So in standard teacher fashion, she has got a handout, and we're now take one, pass it down. You may.
You have quite a board here. I see Eric Schock, former student. I had 4 years, took him to state. I have Amber, went to state 4 years.
Was that 4 years in the same class?
What Amber
21 minutes and 42 seconds. And I thought, oh, that's probably too long. So I cut it, and so now it's 17 minutes and 14 seconds. I'm just kidding. It's 5 minutes and 16 seconds. I tell you before. So I had two objectives for drama camp. One was to make sure that all the kids had a great week. And number two was that it was a financial success for the college. I'm happy to report both objectives were accomplished. When Dr. Payne and I met, we talked about the number of campers. I thought 35 might be a good number. We had 36, and then 3 did stay home because of isolation. So I think Robert was giving a refund to those 3 kids. So with the 33 kids, if I did my math right, you made $2,475 off of registration fees. So that was good. You might wonder what we do in drama camp. The first session is on improvs and theater games. We changed quite a bit this year with the way we had to distance ourselves. Then we did a dance number, and I always spend quite a bit of time to pick the right song for the dance number. This year it was not an issue. I said, what else could we do? But we're all in this together from High School Musical. So that was our number, and I will say Mary Libla was the choreographer, and she did a great job. And Sweet Mary didn't even accept her paycheck. She wanted that money to be dispersed with the high school helpers that helped, so they got a little extra perk there. That was very nice. Three Rivers gives them a gift card, so money was added on. Michael Joseph directed the song Day by Day, so we spent time on that. A great song. And then we do readers' theaters. That's how camp all started in 1993. And so what I do is take a children's story, a children's book, and adapt it, retype it into a reader's theater format. For the staff, Josh Hancock was my assistant. He's a teacher at Twin Rivers. And in 2000, he was a drama camper as a little 2-year-old kid, so it was fun to have him. And we had the same vision for drama camp, so it worked out great. The high school helpers, Cooper Hornbeck, and he played the piano for Day by Day. Olivia Goodrich, a former camper, and she goes to Twin Rivers. Michael Joseph is a former camper, and he's heading to ASU this weekend to major in theater. And Lauren Robertson, a former camper, great kid. And then a kid from, well, I say kid, a junior, from Naylor wanted to help. So Mason Schrimsher drove every day from Naylor, and they were just wonderful. So for the financial side of the camp, if you look at the program, and I didn't know how many kids we would have, so to make sure we made money, I did sell program ads. When we started, I talked to Robert. I said, I don't know if parents are going to say, this is not the time for kids to be with a group, or if parents would say, please get out of the house. So we had a perfect number. But I did sell ads just to make sure. So if you look at the back, I would like to point out that I sold ads for $25, but wonderful Eric Kirkman said, I can give more than that because we were collecting money for drama shirts, which look like this, and they're really cute. They always say 3 Rivers, we make sure that's on there. So he gave $300. He's my new best friend, wonderful guy. The other people gave $25 with the exception of Hefner Furniture, they wanted to give $100. West Cattle wanted to give $50, and the others were $25. And then there was a gift card from Colton's and a gift card from Chin, C-H-N restaurant. So the ad section came to $725. We were very grateful for those people helping out. That way I could use 2 colors for the shirts. It cost more, but we had the money. So I guess in conclusion, I think I've covered everything. I would say, hire me back for next year. Any questions or comments?
Well, it was a joy. Drama camp is yours as long as you want it. I do want to, I got an email not too long ago from Mr. Josh Hancock, who was one of the assistants. And I thought I would wait so this will be the first that deciphered his birthday. So, good morning, Dr. Payne. I had the great privilege of assisting Joe L. Seifert this year with the 3 Rivers College Drama Camp. It was a great experience, and I just wanted to reach out and say thank you for the opportunity. Tendon Fine Arts Center is an awesome facility. Mr. Abney does a fantastic job maintaining the building and helped with anything we asked. The janitorial staff did an excellent job as well. I felt so safe at the center and admired the cleanliness. Being able to collaborate with Ms. Seifert was a dream come true because she has helped establish and maintain fine arts education in our area. I currently am a high school English and drama teacher at Twin Rivers High School and frequently ask her advice to use in my own classroom. I was also able to learn from the camp and plan to use even more of her techniques and strategies this school year. I graduated from Three Rivers in 2010, and it has been so nice to return this summer from a different perspective. So,
Oh, that was nice.
yes.
And I would love to have him next year. In fact, we'd even talked about next year. If you all want to do a camp in June and July, we're in.
Oh, well, excellent.
Think about that.
We'll write that down and remember. Any other questions or anything for?
Well, I must say that that kid who played Plug and narrator number 2, he was excellent.
And what was funny, Amber did that story, how many years ago, Amber? Soap, don't forget the soap, yeah.
25, 26 years ago.
I thought that was great for him to be in it. So thank you, Dr. Payne, for letting me do it. It was a fun week. In fact, a friend said, right after that, an adult retired teacher said, "Why are you working? You're retired." And I said, "This wasn't working."
As
Thank
a
you.
side thought, Dr. Hager was your student teacher as I was your student.
Best kid in this high, not just in your classes, in the whole entire school district.
Pretty much the best kid on the board, too. I'm just going to say it out loud.
This
Okay.
Biggest kid on the board.
Moving on.
Biggest kid on the board.
This poor woman had to survive both of us at the same
That
time.
works.
But he told the
That's
story,
enough drama.
I mean, it's not true. He says on day 3, I pushed the grade book to him and said, "It's yours."
Later,
That's
Tim.
It was day 4.
Out there.
It was day 4, I'm sorry.
Eric Chuck's all yours. I'm out of here.
So each year prior to the fall semester, we hold adjunct training. So I'm going to ask Dr. Leslie Gregg, Department Chair of Math Science and Social Science, to come forward and talk about the work that was done there.
Yes, thank you. So, as Dr. Payne said, each year we have adjunct training day. This year we actually broke that up into 5 different sessions where we had an adjunct training day at our Sykeston location, one at the Papa Bluff location, and then 3 sessions over Zoom. So of the right about 100 adjuncts that attended that training, they split fairly evenly between those 5 sessions. Dr. Melissa Davis coordinated that event with the help from several among the college. So Dr. Payne did the welcome where he updated the adjuncts with our Aspire 2025 strategic plan. Dr. Mary Beth Payne and Dr. Michelle Lane from the Office of Institutional Effectiveness talked to the adjuncts about our college-wide assessment, how we gather all of that information and use that college-wide, and they help contribute to that data collection each semester. Ms. Christina McDaniel and Dean Ann Matthews talked about some of our human resources policies, Title IX, and updating things that had changed from the last time that they were here in the spring. Mr. Steve Atwood and his crew in IT did some training for phishing and a few other things for the adjunct resources that they'll need for the semester. Mr. Chris Adams went over enrollment, student development, and did some training for our Pay Suite portal, which is now a place that we can use to make sure student issues, adjunct issues all go to one portal and then are distributed out so that they don't get lost between emails. And then Mr. Chuck Stratton from Campus Safety updated on some of our COVID policies as well as answered questions about campus safety at all the locations. And then the 4 department chairs, we all updated them for academics. So we had a lot of changes in the academic side, like a new master syllabus, new resources. You may not be aware, but all of the adjunct faculty are given a full-time faculty mentor that they work with throughout the year, and so we updated them if there were any changes there. And then we were able to answer questions. So one of the things that I'm always impressed by at this adjunct training day, if you're not aware, we have some amazing adjunct faculty. So they're willing to go above and beyond for all of our students, especially in the times that we have now where we've been adapting a lot. They've really jumped in full force and helped us be able to get the classes going and get students where they need to be. So I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
When did the college start doing this?
We started with an adjunct training day about 5 years ago. We just made it mandatory in the past couple of years.
And this was the first year that we did this many multiples, and we included a virtual on 2 different occasions to make it as convenient as possible.
This is really nice. I mean, I taught a few classes several years ago, and this was not something offered, and it would have been very much appreciated.
Yes, we have learned a lot, since we've been doing these, and so, like Dr. Payne said, one of the big adjustments is that we're offering it multiple times, multiple, modalities, so that as many people as possible can participate.
And this really is in line, both with 2020 Vision and Aspire 2025. We continue to work on making the adjuncts part of, and really feel like they are part of what's going on. The adjunct core of instruction is a huge part of doing what we do. If you want to count number of students touched, number of courses, number of sections, a huge part of what we do, 40% in most semesters, is covered by adjunct faculty members. And some of our most experienced teachers actually are in the adjunct core. 2 in particular, Mr. and Mrs. Blackiston, have now 43 years of professional teaching experience. So they bring a lot to the table. You also get practitioners that are out doing the work that they're teaching the subject matter on. So when you were here teaching psychology classes, Dr. Hager was, for a couple of decades at least,
25 years. Oh, I did 30. I did 25.
25 years in public speaking, and Lana Hager did 30 years as an adjunct. The amount of experience you're bringing into the classroom is huge. And it's a wonderful compliment to our full-time faculty who work day in, day out doing this, to also have these wonderful practitioners and highly experienced part-time faculty coming in and sharing their knowledge with our students. So it's a big deal.
I just remember someone saying, put it in Blackboard, and I said, what's Blackboard?
Right.
This
And
is really nice.
right, and from that time, we hold Blackboard training sessions for adjuncts. We do professional development beyond this for adjunct faculty so that they're building skills. And each year at the end of this, at the end of any professional development, we actually survey our adjuncts, and they have input into not just how'd that go, how'd you like it, what do you want, what do you need, how can we improve this program to better serve your needs, and based on that information, we actually change either a professional development session, or we will change the adjunct workshop day to meet those needs. So it's another example of being a learning institution to making data-driven decisions and actually acting on what we're learning and improving. Thank you, Dr. Gray.
Thank you.
So at the beginning of every fall term, everybody comes back and we hold convocation. And I will have to tell you that convocation was just a tad different this time. While it is necessary, it is part of our plan. Everybody being in a face covering for convocation is a mood dampener. It is hard to build a lot of excitement when everybody is getting used to wearing their mask. On the positive side, it does reduce the amount of time that any single person is willing to present. So we were very efficient in how we presented things at convocation this year. It was no problem getting everybody to the lunch period. In that picture, you see one of our 2 medical advisors. That's Dr. Chris Montgomery. Dr. Dean Dye joined just a few minutes later. They are the two medical advisors that weighed in on our coronavirus plan. And they were kind enough to both come and answer questions for the entire body. So we spent over an hour with everybody asking questions, any question they wanted to ask. And the two doctors were kind enough to provide that time and sit there, and they answered every question. And I think at the end of that, everybody was more comfortable with what was going on, why we were doing what we were doing, and how we were going about taking care of everyone's safety. And then a week after that is first day of fall classes. And since I cannot jinx it now, I will say, looking back, first day of fall classes went as smooth or smoother than any startup that we've had. Maybe more than any other semester, we in detail tried to think through every little piece that could happen or go wrong, either fix it before first day or be prepared for the in case. And in every area, we hit the mark that we needed to be. We had very, very few issues with mask compliance. Everybody was happy to get a mask. You'll see that Dr. Richardson is wearing one of the branded face masks that are provided for the college. We have two versions of that.
Steve has the other one.
And
I'll give him,
Mr. Atwood has the other one on, which is the Rocky Raider mask.
am I
So-
upside down?
You're upside
Oops.
On the left case.
I'm upside down.
And it's even better oriented
That's correct, you
correctly.
are.
And,
I'm not used to the top.
well, you can't see it, so there you go. So that went very, very well. Everything went according to plan. So we have a very detailed plan of how we will deal with things. The two biggest pieces of that, and the entire plan is posted online, has been sent to everyone that works at the college and every student. But the two fundamental pieces of it are enhanced sanitization and hand sanitizer, and face coverings are required throughout campus. So we purposely social distanced the board meeting today. So part of the plan is that if you have a meeting with a small enough number of people inside a room, you can socially distance and take that off. In the classrooms, we've altered a few things. So there is no eating or drinking allowed in class because there is a hard mask requirement in all classrooms, even if they are small enough to social distance. And here is the reason why. Classes are very interactive places. So at any moment in the middle of doing something, there may be the need to interact in a very close proximity with a student to show them a particular thing or to answer a particular question. So the mask requirement is a hard requirement in all of the classrooms. We have adjusted how our food service is done. We have adjusted where our congregation places are, and we are moving forward. There is a recognition that this plan is the beginning point. As we monitor how things go, we have the ability to adjust the plan to meet the circumstances as they occur. So it is with full recognition that things can change, things will change, and we will adjust as necessary. And now I want to cover a few upcoming events. We have partnered with the Red Cross, KFBS, to do a blood drive August 20th 20th and 21st from 1 to 6 p.m. and August 22nd from 10:30 to 3:30, and that will be held at the Three Rivers College Live Family Sports Complex. So if you have the ability to give blood, it's always needed. Come by and donate. Then our first center stage production will be Shrek, 7 p.m. September 4th, 5th, 11th, and 12th, and then matinees on the 5th, 6th, 12th, and 13th. Tickets $10. All audience members will have to be in a mask. We also will not do a lobby character call. They will take their bows from the stage, and that will end the show. So normally, our cast and crew comes out front and is able to greet everyone. One of the adjustments we've done is to not allow that. So you come in, you sit down, you wear your mask. We'll do an extremely high quality show, and there will be, unfortunately, no concessions. So that is some of the adjustments that we have made to make that work. Then the 5th annual Run for the Arts. 100% of the proceeds from this event fund scholarships for students. So you have the opportunity to be a virtual runner. You can be an actual runner. Since this is an outside event and an athletic event, masks will not be required from the participants, but the plan is we will keep them socially distanced and have staggered starts so that no one has to be close to anyone else. 9 a.m. September 12th. Register by August 21st to be guaranteed a t-shirt. Support the arts, but mostly support our students. This money goes to scholarships. Even if you don't run, you can join as a virtual runner. It's the best thing ever. You get credit for being in a 4K, and you don't have to do anything. So, may have been designed specially for me, but it is an opportunity. And that, Madam Chair, ends the president's report, and we do have an executive session.
Thank you for that, Dr. Payne. Then we need a motion to move into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
And this one is a roll call vote.
Trustee Hager?
Yes.
Trustee Garrison?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yep.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes.
Trustee Richard?
Yes.
All right, we are in executive session. Miss Eubanks, if you could stay. Eubanks, not plural.
Just one of them.
Just one of them, yes.
Thank goodness.
Just one of them. And of course, college attorney.
I love this camera angle right here because that crops out my bald spot. So that's awesome.
Nope, no, there's
Tim,
no.
Nope,
Tim.
nope, nope, hey.
Are we ready?
All right. Takes us to item number 6 on the agenda, items for consideration, discussion, and vote. College policy revisions.
Yes, these policies are being revised to come in line with the new Title IX federal rules. So these are the Title IX regulations and policies, as well as all of those that intersect with Title IX. So there's a number that had minor changes. The Title IX for employees and Title IX for students had complete revisions. So I would ask that the board pass those so that we are in compliance with federal law.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion today. All right, motion second.
Trustee Hager?
Yes.
Trustee Garrison?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Sure.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes. Next item, all personnel actions and associated documents.
Yes, I bring before you the personnel items that we have determined to be essential to fill during the current hiring freeze.
Make a motion to approve all documents as presented.
Second. Motion second.
Trustee Hager?
Yes.
Trustee Garrison?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Patterson?
Yes. Nothing in the appendix we need to address, upcoming events expenses covered.
Yes, sir.
Next meeting is Wednesday, September 16th. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. We're done.
The substitute force. And anybody that wants to take a look at the new Chris building, it's a short walk away.
Actually, it's less a walk.
Used to be a long one.